2 years ago, I went on the run from the UK to Japan to dedicate my life to the running gods and become a full-time marathon monk. But now I finally returned to the motherland and it's time to see if it was all worth it. Can I win the UK's most prestigious race and then follow it up with a parkrun record? That's right, we've got a double header race vid coming right up. But first, I need to open up about something very serious. So a lot of people are under the impression that my Valencia Marathon DNF was in fact a disaster. Oh, how naive. You see, I didn't actually drop out that race because I was losing consciousness halfway through. That was all part of the master plan I tactically pulled out to save myself for the big one. I mean, yeah, a 2:10 marathon, it's okay, but it pales in comparison to what you're about to watch now. Because today I'm taking part in none other than the Bedford and County 4.6k handicap race. The biggest event on every runner's calendar and the real reason I ended my Valencia Marathon challenge early. I just couldn't risk compromising the big one.
Would you be happy to go off on your own?
Hang on, what pace?
You've been struggling like hell.
No, what pace? What pace?
I was just going to sit on you, man.
As in, I haven't been able to break 8-minute miling this week. I've been so ill with flu.
Really?
But I feel alright now. We'll see.
Are you going to go?
Okay, I'll give it a go.
Yeah, you're going to give it a go.
So these tense negotiations were over the all-important start handicap and how far behind I'd have to start. In case any of you have been living under a rock and somehow don't know what this race is about, this is an annual event taking place in the mighty British town of Bedford, where my running journey actually began many moons ago, and I finally returned back there to reclaim the throne. It's a rough 3-mile race, which is closer to an obstacle course at times, as you'll see from this footage, but the start times of all the runners are staggered, with the slowest runners going off first with a head start, and the fastest runners at the back having to chase them down. The idea is that everyone should finish at around the same time, although this never actually happens. But I was facing some tough competition for that coveted title of fastest time of the day. Despite being violently ill for 2 weeks prior to this and unsure if I'd be able to break 5-minute Ks, I was starting right at the back with certified speed man Jack Goodwin, a 13:35 5k runner with more fast twitch fibres in his little toe than in my entire body. So this was going to be a battle for the ages. Now, while I obviously joke about the scale of this event, ironically, it did actually end up being the biggest race of the year, as Pete on the cam here dropped a little Instagram reel of it, which instantly went viral, racking up over 1.5 million views. So who needs the marathon majors anyway? The future is clearly in these local handicap races. As you can see us weaving around these streets, actually moving pretty nicely, like 3-minute Ks or so, even under at the start. But it gets a whole lot more congested later on, and we're trying to pick that path because there's a whole bunch of other runners obviously around here. But this was my absolute classic running course back in the day, the embankment, when I was like 13 years old. We'd rip those 10k tempos around here every Monday. We'd drop intervals and stuff too. It was legendary. And that was where my love for running began. It was only later then really at uni, like during my masters all that time, when I kind of went away from it, and that's when the MMA and everything started. But you see Jack looking pretty strong here. I'm just sort of sitting in behind him, like I'm working hard just because I've had so long off. Like I genuinely wasn't sure if I'd be able to get into like 350. So now we're running around 3-minute Ks while weaving around people, going up and down bridges and stuff. So I was surprising myself at this point. This was the comeback. And I'd say I'm the most competitive man on earth, but if there's any competition, then it's got to be Jack here, who's a ferocious competitor as well. Actually, his dad was my coach back in the day. The only coach I've ever had, in fact. There's 2 brothers, Mark and Simon, the OGs, and since then I've always been self-coached, but I guess they set me on the right path back in the day. Now you see us starting to move past some runners, because as well, we'd started so far back that there was a little danger we might end up last in the race, get the wooden spoon. But luckily we managed to close in past some people as we're going here. We even have Ben Alcott sneaking on here, who's another weapon of a runner. He was doing this as a bit of a training run after a long run in the morning though, so luckily he wasn't there in the battle for fastest time. I realise here we've got maybe half a K left. I'm like, I've got to move, I've got to go, because Jack's going to absolutely murder me in a kick. If he's anywhere close to me with about 200 metres to go, he's going to open up that gap. There's no way I'm going to be able to live with him. So I think, right, cart horse mode, let's drive home from early. I can hear him kind of tired sitting behind me, and I start opening up a little bit of a gap here, but is it going to be enough? I'm weaving around. It's all part of the fun of this Christmas handicap. And I think I've got it wrapped up here. You can even see I've got a 10-metre gap maybe, but this is where disaster strikes. I hit the little dip down, you go under this bridge, bang, solid wall. The camera just cuts there, but I have to stop completely. Next minute, Jack's bang straight on my heels. I've been blocked up there, and I know I can hear him breathing down my neck, and I'm thinking, yeah, there's no way I'm gonna hang on to this. Bang, out of nowhere, we had 800-meter man Jamie absolutely fly by as well. He'd clearly been cruising and saved that wonder kick for the end, and there Jack goes as well, leaving me for dead. I tried to react. I'm going sub 3-minute K pace, but it's just not enough. And there, the Christmas handicap title, the biggest race of the year. I see it slipping away out of my grasp. It's a devastating moment. This could have been the redemption I needed after Valencia, but alas, I was well and truly beaten there on the day, and I have to settle for silver. Once again, another second place loser award for me. That was the story of 2025. But will all that change in the parkrun coming up just now? Can we kickstart the new year with a bang? Before we dive into the action, I've got a big update to share though. So in that last video I filmed in the UK, I talked about getting a full blood test. This was when I was really ill. It was after Valencia Marathon. And I was trying to figure out what was going on because I knew I had that underlying iron problem. Well, I've had the results back and it was some very interesting and surprising outcome, I guess. So it was a pretty comprehensive blood work this time that I had in the UK. I've been having them like regularly in Japan just to kind of monitor my iron levels, getting my ferritin, hemoglobin, like a few different sort of measures. But this one was covering everything. And there's a few things that were pretty much as expected. So I had this like really bad cold. There was a lot of inflammation markers coming off that flu or whatever it was that I had. I kind of knew that anyway. I mean, you don't need a blood test to tell that you're ill. But the key thing was the iron. So about a year ago, it was around this time actually, it was when I was diagnosed with like anemia, super low ferritin, iron. Since then, I've been hammering the iron supplements and stuff. Like the doctor was like, yeah, get on that. Let's boost those levels up. But the problem we'd had is that my ferritin was just increasing, like going up and up. That's the iron stores. But what actually affects your performance, the hemoglobin, that's like how much oxygen can be transported around the body. That wasn't going up in line. The idea is you boost your ferritin, the knock-on effect of that, your hemoglobin goes up. But basically what's happened when I had this blood work in the UK is that actually now my ferritin is way too high and there's all this iron just swimming around in my body. I'm basically saturated. You can call me the Iron Man now because there's so much iron. It's actually a toxic level. So I've been taking these supplements the whole time, like what the Japanese doctor's been recommending. And without realizing it, I've actually been poisoning myself with so much iron and it's not actually being used at all. So it's just swimming around in my body and it's not really being converted into hemoglobin. And the effect of having way too much iron is very similar to actually having too little. So these kind of anemia type symptoms that I felt like I was having is probably because I've been having so much iron. So what I have to do now is get my iron rechecked in a few weeks' time to see if the values were thrown off by that illness that I had. Because he said a lot of the numbers could have been affected by just when I had the blood test, I was fighting off this illness at the time. So it might have skewed some of them. But we've got to see now if I recheck it, has my iron started going down? Because I've been off the supplements for like a month, maybe 6 weeks, something like that. Hopefully it's started going down, my ferritin's decreasing. But if it hasn't decreased enough, then the only solution is to actually donate blood. I've pretty much got to reverse dope. So all those dirty little rats out there at the top, winning these world majors and stuff, they're pumping themselves full of extra blood, that sweet EPO. What I'm gonna have to do is actually get rid of my blood, because obviously I get rid of it and all that iron in it is gonna come out as well. But it's gonna have a terrible impact on my running. Like it's the biggest performance limiter if I'm just reducing the amount of blood, like the reducing amount of oxygen that if we pumped around. So that's really a last resort and I don't wanna do it. But they're worried that if I keep my iron this high for too long, you can have problems like liver damage, even like heart attacks and stuff. So it can be pretty nasty. I've basically gone from the absolute rock bottom to just way up the other extreme. And I need to somehow try and find that middle ground, which is probably tricky when you're hammering the mileage. Oh, but talking of that, the great news, this is probably the best thing that came out of this blood test. So they were checking a whole load of other values as well, like testosterone and all these other markers. And when you're overtraining, basically your testosterone just gets killed. So you see a lot of guys struggling, maybe they're under eating, they're not fueling enough, they're training too hard. Their testosterone is absolutely butchered. And a lot of the marathoners anyway just seem to have low testosterone from hammering the mileage. Well, somehow, even though I am the undisputed king of the Strava mileage leaderboards, I have some very, very healthy looking testosterone. testosterone. Like when I had this blood test done, I was coming off the back of those 40k days for months and months on end. I was knocking out 280k weeks. But actually the doctor was saying there was definitely no chance that I was overtraining at the moment. And I've actually got room to go even further. So unbelievable news for me. Pretty much that gives me the all clear for those 300k plus weeks in the very near future. It means there's room to push the ceiling even higher. And clearly I've just not been training hard enough at the moment. So I thought I'd change that with another speed test straight after the Christmas handicap race. I sought out one of the UK's most popular and competitive courses for this 5k assault, boasting a course record of 14:34 and with over 1,000 weekly participants. Battersea Park was a fitting stage. There were simply two goals coming into this: take the win and secure the fastest time ever.
Runners who are bothering to listen, are you ready?
Yes.
3, 2, 1, go!
All right, so we're underway in this race. We've got the stats on screen. So I was wearing that Coros, this little bad boy here. So you can see we've got the pace, distance, and I'll pop up the splits and stuff as we go along. I was thinking though, because this isn't gonna be the most thrilling race video ever, like just with this POV cam, you're not gonna see it that much, even though I did have a guy right on my shoulder battling with me the whole way. I was thinking I'm gonna read out a few questions from the Instagram. So ask on Instagram, hit me with your Q&A. I think it's a good chance because it's always hard for me to get round. I get tons of DMs and stuff. I'm sorry, like it's not that I'm ignoring people, it's just impossible to reply to everyone. See me absolutely butchering the corner there, going very wide, but I'm about to try and get a quick little start here. Off it looks like in sort of 2:45 or so current pace. That's gonna slow a fair bit down. So remember, we've got our average 2:55 to break that course record, which is 14:34. So we're gonna be looking in around that range. Obviously the legs are a little bit rusty coming into this. This is pretty much my first proper hard effort. I guess I had the Bedford handicap, was a little warm up for this park run here. But it's a lovely day out there. And yeah, let's get cracking with a few questions as we get rolling around Battersea Park. The first one, who inspired you to start a career in rap? During my uni days, I loved the UK rap. All the big dogs, Dave, Crepton Conan, Chip, like Skepta, all those guys. But I'd say my number one, Dave, Santan himself. I'm gonna say it, I was a day one fan way before he got big time, before he released any songs, he was dropping his freestyles. I stand by this right now, lyrically the best rapper on earth. Try and argue with that, but that's a fact right there. Listen to Psychodrama, that is hands down the greatest UK rap album ever released. All right, next one, what happened with the teams you trialled with? Have you picked one? I have indeed. One has been chosen, but now is not the time. I cannot reveal yet, but yes, I have picked a team and I've got some huge news coming soon. And it looks like the pace is dropping slightly. I'm sort of waving around that like 3-minute pace, but we've got to try and cut it down, yeah. See a few more sub threes if we're gonna hit that course record here. And I can feel there's a few runners still at this point sitting on me, using me as the windshield, but luckily it wasn't too bad conditions out there, so you know what, I'll take it. And it looks like we're coming through 1K here. What's the chorus saying? We've got a 2:57, so not bad, but we're gonna have to try and cut it down a little bit. All right, what takes more of your time, training or YouTube? That's a good question, actually quite a hard one, because I'd say it's pretty even. It pretty much comes down to, am I smacking 280k weeks? If so, that's gonna be 20 hours of running. Then YouTube's probably on average around 20 hours. If you go right from coming up with the idea to publishing the video, like the whole process and everything that goes along with it, I'd say it's near 20 hours. If you then add in all the supplementary stuff, if we talk with training as in like core, stretching, massage gun, all that extra stuff, then the training definitely takes the crown. All right, who is your inspiration? I guess we're talking running here. You know what, I'd say in running, it's hard to have inspirations because if you're following any of the top dogs, one week they're setting a world record, the next they've been busted for drugs. So I think running is one of those sports where it's very difficult to have role models. Nowadays, almost I think it's more inspiring looking at people that clearly aren't juiced out of their mind, maybe aren't right at the top level. I think that's why I actually enjoy following a lot of other YouTubers, creators, their running journey. But I'd say currently my inspiration is definitely the Japanese guys, because I'm pretty confident, I can say near 100% certainty, they are clean and doing it the legit way. So probably Yuki Kauchi, or I guess my unofficial coaches, the guys that I'm kind of modeling my training at the moment on, would be the Saw brothers and Toshiko Seko, some old school Japanese legends. So all of those guys, yeah, big inspirations. Best Scran of 2025, Scran to Japan. Oh, that is a tough question. You know how elite the Scran is out here. To pick one, yeah, it's gonna be tough. But what springs to mind straight away was I was traveling with my family after Tokyo Marathon. We hit up a few different places, but in Kyoto, we went to this tonkatsu restaurant. So it's like pork cutlet, fried, super simple, but then you had all these little fancy sauces. Unbelievable. It comes with rice and then, yeah, some little pickled veg, miso soup. But yeah, that pork, Jesus, it was next level, like melt in your mouth stuff. I think it'd be unfair to give it to a sweet treat because I've got the sweetest tooth ever, so it's so easy for me to just list off a whole load of pastries. But when it comes to savory stuff, that one stands out. Are there any possibilities of joining new or creating a corporate team? I had a lot of people saying it's like, why can't I just make my own team, move to Nagano and set one up? And let's get a little K marker split. We just went through 2K there, slipping a tiny bit, 258, but let you into a secret, I do pick up the pace. So the course record is definitely not out of question. And you see here, I'm waving around even like 250 at times. So I'm moving along nicely. I could do with a little bit of support here instead of being the pacemaker, but great support on course. Got some filming job going on here. There was a whole bunch of Ran to Japan subscribers, viewers out there who we chatted to after. It was quality meeting everyone. But yeah, in terms of new teams, the amount of money and time that it would take is just completely unfeasible. Firstly, it costs millions like running these teams. They're all loss making. So the companies like Toyota, Suzuki, ND Soft, they're not making money from the Ekiden teams as such. And they've got 10, 20 people employed around that team, like managers, support staff, chefs, like masseuse. It's not just like, oh, you set up a little team and start up. It would be so much investment of time that there's no way I could do YouTube, run 280K weeks and be like the manager or like the founder of a team. It's just not feasible. But in the future, 100% when I retire, I want to get into coaching and maybe set up my own team. Okay, if you could choose another sport to compete in, which would it be? I guess the obvious answer is MMA. Like, of course it would be that, because that was a sport I wanted to do before running. I wanted to go pro in MMA, and I still think I've got that killer instinct in me. I've said it before, but running's unbelievable. Like, you get that runner's high, but nothing touches the feeling of just unleashing, like the fear, the danger when you're sparring. It's that kind of thrill after you've gotten a good scrap. Oh, you can't beat it. So I'd have to say MMA. Okay, next up, do you have an end game for your channel, or you just let it go until the wheels come off? I'd say my channel is purely just here to showcase my running. So when the running ends, the channel ends. I'd say it's very hard at the moment to see in the current setup where I'm basically involved in everything. Like, I'm doing a lot of the editing, all the kind of ideas and stuff. I'm still very heavily involved. In the future, I'd love to outsource some of that, but it's tricky giving away some of that creative freedom, giving more than I currently do without losing that sort of authentic essence. And we've got the 3K split here. Through 3K, dead even splits this whole time. 258 again. So I'm going nicely. Actually, looking at a few of the stats here from Chorus, the cadence is actually nice and steady. It's not slowing down at all. I'm definitely breathing hard, but I'm actually not pushing outrageously hard compared to I would in peak fitness. I can probably get my heart rate up to at least 190, if not 200 during a 5K. It's only at about 180 now. It's actually a good sign for my fitness. I'm running this like solid pace, just under 3-minute Ks. And it's not like I'm absolutely murdering myself. We're not having a Valencia incident here. And I'm starting to realize, okay, I'm gonna have to pick up now, and most importantly, I'm running for the win as well. Like, I want to get that course record, but I definitely want to take the dub. And I know at the moment, it's still, you can hear the breathing just behind me. Very good runner sat on me, and I know I'm gonna have to try and break him because I don't want this to come down to a sprint finish. You know how useless I am with them. Oh, next question, leading on nicely. At what age do you plan to retire, if ever? I'll always run, unless like, I don't know, I lose both my legs and I'm fully wheelchair bound, then I'm going to be running forever for fun. But in terms of kind of competing at a serious level, I want to do that until at least 40, I reckon. There'll be a point earlier than that probably where I move away from the marathon, but I'd say those ultra distances, the trail, the road ultras, all of that stuff, you could easily be competing up to like 40. So that's the game plan for sure. I've got well over 10 years still in the legs. This cart horse is going to keep pounding those pavements, 100%. Okay, if you were 18 again, back at uni in the UK, would you do anything differently? It's an interesting one. I can see actually I'm moving nicely. I'm picking up the pace. We're creeping up, so I am ramping up, but am I going to have picked it up enough to hit that course record? That is the question. Can I take the throne and assert my dominance on the UK running scene? Well, in terms of running when I was at uni, I'd say I was so casual. I was purely there for the social side. I've chatted about this before. Like, I was loving the nights out and stuff. I wasn't taking training too seriously. I was still doing MMA at the same time. And you know what? definitely wouldn't change it, because I know you could say, oh, I could have focused in on running then, started actually training seriously, like I could have been a way better runner back in the day, but I don't know whether I'd have necessarily had the longevity. Maybe I'd be better now if I'd have had that foundation back then, but almost I think my body wasn't ready. I was still getting injured a lot when I was younger, like early 20s or whatever, and I almost think now, having started running properly when I was 25, I've got these rock solid legs, just they've built up the strength. I'm not weak like a lot of younger runners, and like myself back in the day, I'd always get these injuries. Whereas now I think starting later, it's just so much better for strength and durability that then I was able to handle the big mileage. And that was probably a big part of why I've managed to build up to the marathon now, as opposed to going all in younger, like a lot of Japanese guys who then are absolutely cooked by about 25. And we've got the 4th K there. Few seconds down, all right, we're moving now, 2:56, and this is where I've put in a bit of a shift. So I've broken away now. You can see I'm kicking for home, but is it gonna be enough? I know that there's crowds up ahead. I'm trying to reel in as many of these runners that we're lapping around and getting great support. Loads of them are shouting as well, like, let's go, the marshals are giving it big runs. I was gassed up, but I was hurting as well. And it was one of them where I'm pushing hard, but it's just the legs are my limiter here. The breathing's not bad. Cadence and stride length are dead consistent, maybe slightly picking up in terms of that stride length there. I'd say this is pretty good signs. Actually, the core data is looking at my threshold being around 3-minute Ks. It's more that I have to unlock it again, because I wouldn't have lost that much fitness from Valencia. It's more just getting back into the rhythm of running again like this. Okay, are we winning the league? Simple, yes. Boom. Next question. When you're not running and making videos, what do you like to do in your spare time? Oh, to be honest, there's always something to work on in terms of YouTube, or I guess recovery with running. So it is a job, but in a way it's also my hobby. It's what I do in my free time, because I don't really have any time outside of that. If we're saying training, like all of that takes up probably 30 hours a week. And then if YouTube's 20, there's not a lot of time. I guess you could say eating. That's probably my biggest hobby. And I was going around the bandstand here. I can see my dad there. He's filming on the cam duty. Let's go. And I'm kicking for home. Can I pull off a huge run here? We'll have to wait and see. The win's wrapped up, but what about the course record? We've probably got time for one more before I finish. All right, have you ever thought about using the bike, treating those thunder thighs to some brutal riding? You know, when I was injured before, for 8 months, I did 3 to 4 hours of biking every single day. Mental torture. It was on the fixed bike as well, because it was a hip issue. I couldn't go outside. And I'm telling you, I never want to touch a bike ever again. As well, when it comes to fitness, running is always going to be better if you want to be a runner. I'm not good enough at biking to get the same aerobic benefit. Like Alex Yee can get fit for running through biking. But for me, I'm not good enough technique-wise or just fitness-wise when it comes to biking. I've not done it long enough to be able to get the same benefit I would from running. So if I'm able to run, then I'm gonna run. You know, it's run harder, not smarter, obviously. And here we go into the finish. What's the time gonna be? Oh, there we go. He's just missed out on the course record. I gave it a good shift with a 2:54 final K. I was picking up, but just not quite enough there. For that 14:41, solid shift, you know, I'll take it. I think I'd have needed to absolutely hammer it here. And yeah, he pushed me all the way. It's a great run from this lad here. I just wasn't quite up to it on the day. But yeah, so many guys coming in here. I was chatting to after. It was a lot of fun meeting everyone here. Tons of people came down and said they watched the videos. I couldn't believe the support. And I guess the final question I can answer here is, what's the story behind your misses? Well,